Happy spring, everybody. We've got a beautiful weekend here in New England. The sun is shining and it's almost 60 degrees outside. I spent a little time in my garden this afternoon just clearing off the weeds from last year and enjoying the sunshine. And I've been busy in my studio working on a few different projects, but I wanted to share these with you. I've got some spring projects going, obviously. The Valentine's projects are all put away, and now it's ready for me to dig in with some spring projects. So I recently completed this sewing journal. And I'm going to share this with you in just a second, but I wanted to show you what I used for supplies. And the first thing that I've got here, these are a couple of dies that I've had in my stash for a long time, and I got both of these on AliExpress. This one is a balloon, and you can make a shaker out of this or just leave it as, as like flat paper crafting. And then this one is a set of kites. Okay, so all the parts are in here. There are a few different options that you can use. So I made a couple of projects using both of these dies that I've incorporated into the sewing journal. So let me start with that. Now for these projects, I've used a few papers from the Maggie Holmes Garden Party collection. Okay, and then also some papers from this Michael's pad that I've had for a few years. This is called French Chateau, and it coordinates really nicely with the Maggie Holmes collection. So I used some papers from that, as well as a few others just that I had in my leftover bin. So those I'm going to show you. And then before we get into the sewing journal, these are the projects that I worked on using some of, oh, I almost forgot to share. I also used this collection as well. This is the, is this Maggie Holmes? Yes, this is Maggie Holmes Round Trip collection. So I pulled some papers from this as well. And what I did was I started off by creating some lace. These are paper, but they imitate lace. And what I've done for these is I made a big stack of them in some different, pink and white with some different eyelet looks. So here's one here with the little dot on the edge and the scallop. So I've got those in a few colors of cardstock. And then this one here as well in a few different colors. You can see that it has a very lacy edge. Okay, so I used those, and if you've been paper crafting for a long time like I have, you might be familiar with some of the old Maggie Holmes edge punches. So I've got a slew of these in a tote tub in my craft room, and I pull these out often and use them. But I like to make up a bunch. When I pull out a die, I like to just pull out lots of different papers and make a bunch so that I have them in my stash to use. If I'm taking it out anyway to work on a project, I'll just make some extras up. So I've got a stack of those, and then using those, I just, here's another one. I cut the edges on a fishtail, okay, for some of them, and then I ruched them. I folded them up like fabric ruching, which you can kind of see here. Oh, well, maybe it's a little hard to see. See how they're folded? And then I stitched them on my sewing machine and then added some, little embellishments. There's a typed sentiment in there. It says, love this. And some little bling and a satin bow and, some Nouveau drops. Or actually, I think these are stickles, these little pink ones here on top. So I made an assortment of those. Here's another one. Lovely little moments. And I had a little unicorn cabochon in my stash. And over here is a little tiny cabochon as well of a heart. And, they're done the same way. They're just folded up, stitched, and then I glued the other embellishments on top. Okay, here's another little one here. It says, this moment. Okay, and here's another. Remember when. with some little white Nouveau drops here and a cabochon on the other side. And let's see, oh, there's a couple more here. Well, one more. Whoops, there we go. And again, similarly, you know, with the Nouveau drops and the resin pieces and cabochons. And I thought these came out so pretty. I mean, you could do these really, they'd be pretty in vellum. You could do them in, you know, other types of papers, cardstocks and papers. They'd be really lovely. And then I had a few little scraps left over. So these are the ones that I'm just leaving blank for now, and I'll, you know, pull them out when I have a use for them. So those are that. And then using the kite die set, here's the oh, hold on. Here's the first kite that I created. All right, it has a little bit of pink twine for the kite tail, some little bows, and then the Nouveau drops for the center of the bows. Okay, and here's the kite. A little bit of Nouveau drops on there. This one is layered with the hearts on a pink lacy background. Okay, and then here's another one. And these three are all using the round trip collection paper scraps, along with some solid cardstock as well. Okay, so there's this one with the little tail. Little kite tails are adorable. Okay, there's a Nouveau drop on the heart. Yeah, I love these. They're very feminine, very springy. And here's another one. This one has little paper flowers that I had purchased at Michael's from my stash. Little blue kite, really cute. And here is the little butterfly option that comes with the die set. And again with the little kite tail. And some Nouveau drops up on top for the antenna. Isn't that cute? Yeah, I was really pleased with the ways these came out. So you're going to see these used in that sewing journal. Let me just put these aside for a moment. Okay. And of course the Nouveau drops, I've got them in baby blue and baby pink. Actually the colors on these, let me tell you what this one, the pink one is Bubblegum Blush, and the baby blue, the title of that one, or the name of that one is Blue Babe. Okay. All right, so those are those there. Okay, and then here's the sewing journal itself and the cover. Now the cover I put together in a previous, I had shown in a previous video. I think I made these last month or maybe the month before. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with them, so I tucked them aside until, you know, I was ready to work on the sewing journal, and decided I wanted to use this for the front cover. This one, this image of the little girl with the little buttons and the seam binding on the front. Okay, and then what I did is I covered the covers with white cotton fabric. I used Fabri-Tac glue, and then I covered the reverse side of the front and back covers with more cardstock, as you can see here. And then I used the little die cuts of the balloon and the kite here over a doily, and then I put the sentiment in the center. And that says My Favorite Things. And I decided to go with a ring binder on this because I knew that I wanted to be able to add pages as I go along in this, you know, keeping track of my sewing projects. In here, I probably will be adding additional pages. So this way I can do that. And then the other consideration was I wanted something that would lay flat. So I didn't want too much dimension on the inside cover or even the front cover, although there's a little bit with the two antique buttons, but I'm not too worried about that. And the same decision came into play for what to put on for a tassel. I didn't want any beads that would hinder the book laying flat, and this way the tassel is out of the way and doesn't seem to be a problem. So I can, you know, do my sketches in here. I can staple in fabric samples. I can do little drawings, make notes. And I've got an assortment of different types of paper. I'm keeping this very plain, okay, because I'll be planning and designing with this. So there's some vellum pages, some regular paper, you know, drawing paper pages, some very pale graph paper, half-inch graph paper, and a few other lined papers and so on in here, which probably don't show up terribly well on the camera, but for my purposes, they're just enough line on there just so that I can work with that. Okay, all right, and then on the back cover, same as the front, I just used some cardstock over the fabric cover. I used like cereal box board type cardboard for the base, and then glued the fabric to that. And then of course the cardstock was glued on top of that. And I just put some reinforcement around the loose leaf ring binder holes. Yeah, so I'm very pleased with this. I can't wait to get using it. I'm excited about it, and I just think it's so feminine and vintage and it's so pretty. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. That was sort of the main project. But while I have you here watching, and if you're so interested, I wanted to share one of my studio practices, and this is an antique pickle jar, if you will, that I've had for years, and I store all of my super tiny scraps in here from sewing projects, and I use these regularly. I pull them out and I use them for making other projects that incorporate either fabrics or laces. And like this little fabric scrap here was stuffed into the jar, and I pulled it out and tore it into, into a ribbon size, and then just put it on the top of this tag. And then another example here, using just tiny scraps of fabric and cardstock layered up and sewn. And here are some little lace applique here, and then a little bit of lace stitched up the side. So I don't really throw much away. Someday my children are going to have fun finding homes for all this stuff, but I do tend to keep the scraps because I incorporate them into other projects at at a later point when I'm sewing and doing crafts. So that's something that I really enjoy. I mean, I keep this actually in my den. I have a small den upstairs in one of the other rooms in our home, and I keep this on the bookshelf, and it's just whimsical, and the colors are just so pretty, and I absolutely love looking at it when I'm in there knitting or watching a little television. So yeah, this is one of my favorite practices. So I hope you enjoyed watching today, and I'll be back again soon with more project shares, and I hope you have a great week. Take care. Bye for now.